welcome to episode 4 of Knitknacker Natters. I'm Fatima and this is a crafting podcast focusing particularly on knitting and crochet and anything else I might have the opportunity to dabble in. I'm filming from Singapore, and as you can tell from my accent, I'm not originally from here, so I like to share some of my everyday happenings and experiences with you with regards to Singapore and living in Far East Asia. Where can you find me? I'm on Instagram and Ravelry as Knitknacker. And we've also now got a Ravelry group called Knitknacker Natters podcast, and I'd love for you guys to pop along and say hi. We've got a few people that have already joined, and it would be great to get to know you and for you to get to know me. And I'm going to use the group to post the YouTube videos and update you with regards to filming schedules and cows and things like that as well. So yes, that's my info. I should say welcome to everyone who's joining us. If you're new, thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoy the podcast. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. It's lovely to have you guys along for the ride. It's lovely to have people kind of dropping me messages and letting me know what they think. I do have to apologise for last time's episode. A few of you got in touch with me and said the audio wasn't very good. I had decided to switch things around and film from my MacBook, and previously I'd been filming on my iPhone, and I think that's where the problem was, because I didn't have an external mic. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that things are better this time round. I've switched back to the iPhone. The whirring that you can hear is the fan because it's hot, or warm rather. Today's a little bit overcast, so it's not been quite as hot and humid as some of the days earlier in the week. I should add, today is Thursday, the 8th of September. We're in autumn. I can't believe how quickly the year has gone by. I say autumn, but here there's not really that much of a seasonal change. So it's still hot, it's still humid, but as we come towards the latter part of the year, it's supposed to get rainier. I live in the west of Singapore and it's often rainy here, so again, probably no change for me. But yes, for those of you who are lucky enough to experience either spring or autumn, depending on depending on where or which hemisphere you live in, enjoy. I have been listening to a lot of podcasters talking about fall, and I'm very jealous. But I'm getting in on the action because today, for my cultural segment, I'm going to be sharing a little bit of info on the Mid-Autumn Festival that is celebrated here in Singapore. So stay tuned for that. Okay, where shall I start? I don't have any FOs this week. It's, yeah. I feel like I'm always making excuses. The last couple of weeks have been particularly challenging for doing anything crafting related. My son has not been particularly well, and fingers crossed we're getting to the bottom of what's going on and getting some help. But the days are taken up with looking after him. and so most of my knitting and crocheting, etc., gets done in the evenings, or if there's someone to look after him. So yeah, I don't have tons to show you, but I'm going to share what I have been up to. So let's get started with the works in progress. My first one is in my large Fawn & Fox butterfly bag, and if you remember from last time, it's my sweater test knit by Libby Johnson, or rather the pattern is by Libby Johnson. It's at the moment called the Oatmeal Sweater. I don't know if that name is going to stick, but Libby Johnson is the superbly talented lady behind Truly Metal Designs, and she's from New Zealand, and this is her first sweater design. I've never knitted an adult sweater, so I took this opportunity to get involved in her test knit, and I've test knit for her before. If you remember from last episode, I had a bit of a rocky start to this whole test knit, and I had just finished the waist decreases. Last week, Libby got in touch with all of us who were test knitting just to check and see what was going on, and I decided to take a glance at her requirements for the test knit on the off chance, and realised partly the reason for her getting in touch with us was because I only had 2.5 days left on the test knit, and I had pretty much 3/4 of the sweater to do. So the stress levels went from here to there, and I had to figure out a way to kind of get this sweater done. So I pretty much stayed up almost the entire night to get the body done, and get the shoulders seamed, and then the next day I started working on picking up stitches and doing short rows for the sleeve cap before I started on the sleeve. Just because of time and how stressful I was finding it, I got in touch with Libby to explain my situation, because I really was burning the candle at both ends, and I just didn't think I was going to be able to finish, and the stress knit was not enjoyable at all, and it should have been, but it wasn't. So she was lovely, and she said to me not to worry. So I haven't finished the sweater, but I'm getting there. So this is how much I have done so far. I finished the body like I mentioned. I picked up stitches for end of the sleeve cap, and I'm halfway through the decreases on the sleeve on one side. I am going to aim to get this done by the beginning of next week, if I can. This is a generally quite straightforward pattern. I'm just not fantastic at picking up stitches, and I'm not great with short row shaping. So the beginning of the sleeve cap took me a while, and I'm not in love with how that looks. The bottom bit is much cleaner. So I'm hoping when I do the second side that it will look better. And then once I finish the sleeves, I have to pick up stitches along the neckline and do the neckline. But once I've picked up the stitches, it shouldn't take me long. It's just finding the time to knit. So yeah, I am using Barocco Vintage DK, which is a wool and acrylic blend, machine washable, and it's predominantly knit on 4mm needles. I am using, what am I using? Oh, at the moment for the sleeve, I'm using some, I think they're Chang'es, some 12-inch Chang'es, And I've never done sleeves on a 12-inch needle, and it's great. It's a little bit awkward initially, for me the hand placement and stuff is a little bit awkward, but once you get started, if you have some time, it works up really quickly, much more quickly than I think Magic Loop. And I managed to do about 20 rows on this the other night, really quickly, and I was really surprised. So that's what I'm doing. I was using 4mm Knit Pros on an interchangeable set. So yeah, that's my test knit. I have to say I was really impressed with how much I managed to do under stress in a day. It's just that I was finding it quite tedious. So yeah, I've still got to finish this. I had mentioned last time that I had misplaced my 4th skein of the Barocco vintage, and thankfully I found it. It had slipped behind one of the boxes in our bedroom, so it must have fallen out of the project bag. But yeah, so I've got a bit more time with that one. My next whip is not something that you've seen unless you follow me on Instagram. I mentioned that earlier this week I woke up to the news, or on Monday I woke up to the news that I was an auntie again, and I have a brand new baby niece, and I wanted to make her something, and I was looking through patterns, and I decided to make her a crochet blanket. So I was just looking for patterns, and one of the most kind of popular patterns at the moment seems to be the virus blanket, which I think originated from the virus shawl. So for those of you who crochet, you probably know about the virus shawl. So yeah, this is based on the same kind of pattern. It's a free pattern. I can't remember who it's by, but I will try and find out and link, write it down here. So stash diving. I don't really have many colours for girls, so I kind of had to make do with what I had, and what I had was this shocking pink yarn. Let me show you the yarn. It's King Cole bamboo cotton. It's a DK weight yarn. It's fuchsia. It's called fuchsia. That's probably matches my headscarf. And it is pretty much shocking pink. And I didn't want to do it in one colour because it's just way too bright. So I've teamed it up with some of their grey. Yeah, it's grey. Just trying to think. That's not bad. Okay. So this is this bamboo cotton blend. I originally got this colour because one of my cousins saw the baby blanket, the Twinkle Twinkle baby blanket that I had knit for my son, and she was like, could you make something similar for my daughter, but she's 7? No, she's 8 years old, so she wanted a slightly bigger blanket, or a lap blanket, in something that was pink, and she had chosen this colour, so I got it, and I find this yarn difficult to knit with because for the blanket anyway I was holding it double, and being a kind of cotton bamboo blend, it splits. With crochet it's fantastic, so I've been loving using this with this particular pattern. I didn't love it when I was knitting with it. I don't know what everyone else's experiences of it are. Anyway, blanket. So it's coming along. I've still got at least 4 more repeats to do, I reckon, before it's baby blanket size. It's quite fun, and after a while becomes intuitive. I didn't love how the pattern was actually written up because I haven't crocheted in a while, and the setup rows and the first couple of sections are kind of detailed out. There are no diagrams, or rather charts, and it kind of just said it's a 4-row repeat, and the pattern says repeat rows 4 to 7. Yes, 4 to 7. But it doesn't really tell you how rows 4 to 7 works as the blanket gets bigger. But after a while, I kind of figured it out. I just didn't feel that it was that well written, especially seeing as I was kind of coming back to crochet after a while. I'm using a clover 4mm hook, and the blanket is in my Freckled Whimsy strawberry shortcake bag. Freckled Whimsy had put on Instagram that she was doing a pre-order for these bags, and I remember being in love with strawberry shortcake when I was about 3 or 4 years old. I remember having a dress, a smock dress, a red and white smock dress with strawberry shortcake on it, and having a strawberry scented powder puff that was strawberry shortcake. So I couldn't resist, and I ordered it and had forgotten all about it, and lo and behold it arrived, and my husband was like, I think you have another parcel, what have you gotten this time? And it was this, so it was lovely. The inside is strawberries. This is my first Freckled Whimsy bag. It's tall. So I've managed to fit in 4 balls of the king coal as well as the blanket, and there's still a little bit of room, so I could potentially, the blanket definitely has room to grow, but I could potentially fit in another ball if I wanted to. Freckled Whimsy did have her own website, but I think, if I remember rightly, either this week or last week, she sent out an email saying that her shop was moving back to Etsy because I think she was finding it easier to work with Etsy. So I will link her down below. Okay, and now on to the final whip that I have, which I had mentioned last time round, and that's the Periscoping Sisters 3 Pips Mystery Cow. So Clue 1 came out on Saturday, and I was super excited, and I had wound up my skeins 2 days prior, having chosen my yarn, and the Mystery Cow is in conjunction with Lolo Did It Yarns, and their kind of requirements are that you have a speckled yarn and 2 tonals, and the speckled yarn that I'm using for my colour A, which is predominantly used in, which is the colour that's predominantly used, rather, I should say, in Clue 1, is Look at the Flowers, Lizzie. And it's this gorgeous colourway. It's like a peachy base, and it's got like claret reds, yellows, greens, purples, some blue in there as well. And Debbie Reese, who's one of the Periscoping Sisters, is actually using this colourway for some socks at the moment. And she started the socks after I had chosen the colourway, but before the Mystery Knit Along started. So I got an opportunity to see what it would turn out like, and it's lovely. I haven't finished Clue 1, obviously. I am I would say probably halfway there. Should I say spoiler alert? Spoiler alert. And it's an asymmetrical wrap with what they call a loopy picot edging. You see that? 4 pattern repeat, really easy to memorize. And clue 1 is predominantly done using colour A, and then there are bits of colour B in, so I'll be introducing that relatively soon. And I'll try and post a picture on Instagram as to what it looks like. I love how this colourway is knitting up. It's lovely. That's probably better. I'm actually filming in the afternoon today. So the lighting is a little bit different. So this is my kind of, actually both the crochet baby blanket and this are my relaxing knits. And all of it should be relaxing, but this is the one that's become, those two have become the relaxing ones, and the other one it's, I need to get it done because I'm so behind. Should I mention that I'm using Lulu Did It yarn? Sorry, I'm really scatty today. This is probably like the 4th time I've tried recording. And yeah, it's not going particularly well, but I need to try to get it done today if possible. So it's Lulu Did It Sparkle Sock. That's and it's 75% superwash merino wool, 20% nylon, and 5% stellina. The stellina's quite subtle, I would say. It's I can only really see it in the right light. I don't think it's glaringly obvious, but irrespective, I love the colourway. It's beautiful. So yeah, I am knitting them using my new Higher Sharps. When I was in the UK, I bought the 4-inch interchangeable set. Now, loads of podcasters love Higher Sharps. They specifically use them for sock knitting. I don't have any of the sock knitting sizes. I love the sharp tips. I generally love sharp tips. But I'm finding that the needles themselves have quite a bit of drag. So compared to my Knit Pro interchangeable needles, the metal ones at least, these have way more drag. And so it's not as slick or as fast as I thought it would be to knit with these. And the other thing that I don't really know much about is this join. So I don't know if you guys can tell me if this is normal, but I am holding the cable in this finger, or between my finger and thumb, and rotating the needle at the tip, and it seems to be rotating at the join. Is that normal, or do I have a dud cable? I'm not sure. Let me know if you know. If you're a Higher Sharps user and you have the interchangeable set, let me know. Or even if you have fixed needles, does that happen with your fixed needles? Like I said, this is the first time I've used my Higher Sharps, so I haven't tried any of the other cables. I don't know if it happens with all of them, if it's just this particular cable, and so I was just interested to find out. I didn't tell you what this is in. So this is in my Homespun House project bag. This reminds me very much of Laura Ashley fabric and British Summers. Molly had made some kits, I want to say about a month ago, and this came with 2 skeins of yarn, which is in my acquisitions, which I will show you, and I love it. And I generally love her bags. She tends to put relatively sturdy interfacing. I quite like sturdy interfacing, I like the fact that it doesn't collapse on you, and I don't think anything could go through this either. So yes, homespun house. So that's all my whips. What else have I been doing? I mentioned some spinning. So last time round I had said that I was due to meet up with my knitting group, and that some of them were spinners, and they had said that they would teach me how to spin. All I had to do was to bring my fibre and my drop spindle, which I did, and I spent pretty much almost the entirety of that that evening, or afternoon rather, learning to spin. Let me show you what I did. Where was my spindle? 1 second. Okay, so the spindle that I have is a Spin City UK spindle. She makes these herself. It has some pretty flowers and some bubbles in there, and it's pretty. That's partly the reason I bought it. I bought some gorgeous fibre from her as well, but everyone had said to me, you don't want to be using amazing stuff or really expensive stuff when you're just learning the motions. So I had ordered some fibre from Etsy. So I didn't know what type of fibre to buy. So I was just perusing Etsy looking for fibre that wasn't too costly, because it was just to kind of learn on, but I wanted something that would motivate me and make the whole experience more exciting than it already is. So I bought some rainbow coloured fibre from World of Wool. It's a lot more muted than I had anticipated it being. This is relatively true to colour. So when I had seen it online, I had thought it was a lot brighter, and it's a lot more muted. It's merino wool. It's called Rainbow. And it wasn't too expensive actually. I took it along with me to the knitting group, and the first thing that they said to me was, you do realise that this is going to look really muddy when you spin it. And I was like, no it's not, it's rainbow coloured. It's going to look like a rainbow. And they were like, no, once you spin it, it's going to look relatively muddy. I'm going to show you. They were right. It does. See? So especially the bits over there, they are quite muddy. So I got taught to pre-draft, how to wind, and basically the motions of spinning. And the idea was just to kind of figure out how it all works, and ask them for help as and when needed, like when I needed to join more fibre, or if it broke, which happened a few times. I found the whole experience a little bit stressful because, to be honest, I like to be good at everything that I do from the offset. The other thing was that I didn't love the muddy colour that I was getting. Sorry, that's just low battery. So we then decided to split or pull apart the different colours and try it that way. It's relatively thick and thin, but the idea, I was told, was to build muscle memory, and I had been advised to do at least 10 minutes of spinning every single day. But it's scary spinning when there's nobody there to kind of help fix your mistakes. And I don't have that much time. So I haven't. This was pretty much what I did during the session, and that's all there is. I have to say, I've been hugely inspired by Grace of Bubble Travelling Yarns, because she's amazing. She got given a fleece and she's washed it, she's carded it, what else? She's drafted it and spun it, and she's got tons. And I have this. So yeah, it was fun. Like I said, I found it a little bit stressful. I think I'm probably not going to get much of a chance to do spinning, or to spin rather, for at least a couple of weeks, and I'm going to use that time to buy some more fibre of a single tonal colour, so that it doesn't look like mud, and makes it a little bit more exciting, because I don't know how much time I have to literally pull this apart. And I'm going to get thick and thin sections, and I want to try and get, some even yarn out of this. So yeah, it's on the back burner. But watch this space. I think there is more spinning to come, just not for a few weeks at least. So let's see. There are random bits of fluff flying around everywhere because it seems to be attached to everything. But yes, World of Wool. Inexpensive. So that was my foray into spinning. I posted some pictures on Instagram of the afternoon. I look like I'm concentrating really, really, really hard. Forehead, brow and everything. But it was it's definitely something I want to kind of pursue more, but I think I need a bit more time and time to focus, because I don't really love kind of doing things haphazard. So watch this space. Upcoming projects. What do I have that I want to be doing? Tons of stuff. I discovered a new crafty store, and they have patchwork classes for adults. So that's something that I really want to do. I can't remember if I mentioned that when I moved to Singapore, I brought with me a sewing machine. I can't sew. I'm not even sure I know how to thread the bobbin. Is that the right terminology? Yeah. But I really want to sew, and I need to learn to sew. And my understanding from the lady at the cashier was that the class is perfect for complete beginners. They will teach you how to use your machine, as well as do some patchwork and make a baby quilt. So that sounds like fun. I still need to figure out how much it costs, because I didn't ask and they don't mention it on their website. But that's probably the next thing that I'm going to be doing, or I'd like to be doing. I have also picked out a pattern, another crochet pattern for a shawl that I'd like to kind of ease me onto my cowl as well. So since starting the crocheted baby blanket, the virus blanket, I have been all about the crochet, and I have been watching crocheting podcasts, or rather snippets of crocheting podcasts. I've been looking at crochet patterns, which I hadn't really done in a really long time. I'd kind of not gone off crochet, but there was no pull. And it just made me, well, kind of crocheting the baby blanket made me think, why is it that I've not been doing this more regularly? So I was perusing patterns, and at the moment, for some particular reason, I seem to be drawn to everything bee related. And I came across this pattern called the Hotel of Bees. Oh, hang on. Sorry. There we go. So it's made up of different sections, all crocheted, related to bees, kind of different honeycomb patterning, etc. And for some reason I was just really drawn to it, so I bought the pattern. I didn't just queue it, I bought the pattern, and ordered the yarn pretty much straight away for it. And the designer is a Dutch designer. Her name is Christina Hadering. I don't know if that's how you pronounce her surname, but that's how I pronounce it. And she's used some Dutch yarn, and I've used it myself in the past, and I enjoyed working with it, so I decided to get the same yarn, just in slightly different colours. So part of my acquisitions, well, I'll show you now, because this arrived yesterday. So it's the Dutch yarn that, my understanding of how to pronounce this is that it's schepes. If you're Dutch and I pronounced it wrong, please let me know. But I understand it's a ch, so schepes. So this is schepes stonewashed, and I previously used the stonewashed XL, and it's 78% cotton and 22% acrylic. So it's quite good for the weather here, which is also one of the reasons why I decided to buy it, and not veer away from what the designer had used. And it's a 3-colour shawl, so I have used, I've bought rather, a creamy colour which is called Moonstone. That looks white, but it's cream. Crystal Quartz, which is a pale grey. I think that looks quite true. And then Blue Appetite. There. So I've got quite a lot of blue stuff in my wardrobe. I don't have any blue shawls. I thought this would be relatively versatile. I could wear it with jeans, etc. So that's gonna be my shawl. I'm not allowed to cast this on until I finish the jumper, or the sweater. So that's kind of what I have in terms of, well, dream knitting. I have tons of stuff, but this is something I'm definitely going to be doing. So this is going to be on my hook next. I think it's going to be quite pretty. And the pattern kind of leads me on to my first cal. I've been thinking of hosting a cal, or a cal, or a cal, But I wasn't sure what to do, and when I started working on the virus blanket, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do a crochet along, because I've not crocheted in a really long time and this gives me an opportunity to do so, and I'm going to reach out to people who crochet. The majority of podcasters that I've watched up until now have been primarily knitters who either dabble in crochet or don't crochet at all, and I'm more recently coming across people who are predominantly crocheters, which is quite nice, and I like both, and there are times when I prefer one over the other, so I wanted to do something that would appeal to everyone. I couldn't think of a theme though, and then I got this particular pattern, and for whatever reason, seeing as I seem to be gravitating to everything bee or honeycomb related, I thought I would do a bee cow. So a cow that starts today, and the idea is to knit or crochet anything related to bees. So it can be a bee related pattern, it can be a toy that's a bee, it can be something with a honeycomb design, it can be something to do with the colour related to bees, so yellow or black or white or honey, and there are tons and tons of patterns on Ravelry that I've been looking at, socks and hats, and toys and shawls, so I hope people will get involved. This is what I'm going to be doing for the cow. It's going to be running from today, or whenever this is uploaded, until the end of October. I figured I hadn't given anyone any warning, so I'd just keep it going for a bit longer than a month, so until October 31st, and I have some prizes in mind. I have something that's already been donated to the podcast, but I haven't received yet, and I'm not going to mention anything until it arrives, and then I'll tell you all about this lovely person. You know who you are, so thank you in advance, and I will tell you the story there. Yeah, so that's going to be my cow. Hashtag. I'm going to start a thread. Well, there'll be a chatter thread and a finished object thread in the group. I'm happy for people to double, triple, quadruple dip. I am happy for people to be working with whips. That's absolutely fine with me too. I just want people to get involved, maybe try something new, try new yarn, new pattern, and just get excited about bees. One of the reasons maybe that I'm kind of drawn to bee related stuff at the moment is that I, before I started the podcast, forayed into learning how to make candles. I'm still a novice, and I don't know if I've mentioned my candle making at all before, but there are different types of wax that you can use for candle making, and more recently I've become quite interested in using beeswax. Just because I had heard that burning a beeswax candle tends to pull the negative ions from the atmosphere and give off more positive ions. So it's great for people who suffer from asthma and other respiratory conditions. It's great to burn beeswax candles if you live in a particularly smog related area. And whilst I was doing my research, I obviously came across lots of information about bees, and so there's this new bee related interest. So I hope you're all going to get as excited as I am about this. I'm toying with the hashtag to be or not to be, with the bee being bee, but I haven't kind of made a final decision about anything, so if anyone has any bright ideas, please let me know. But I'd love to see what you guys are working on. So acquisitions wise, I've kind of been showing you my acquisitions as I've been going along. So I mentioned that the Homespun House bag was part of a kit, and it came with 2 skeins of yarn. Let me show you the 2 skeins. And these were the 2 skeins. So they're both on Molly's Dale fingering, which is 100% 19 micron merino, 400 meters, 438 yards, hand wash. And this pink is in the colorway Peony. And it was teamed with this tonal skein, which has light and dark beiges, kind of a rusty brown. It has some pink in it as well, and it's lovely. It's a really pretty skein. It's not something I would necessarily have picked out myself, but actually I would love to have a cardigan out of this skein. I think it's lovely. I don't know if it would suit my skin tone, but it's really pretty. There's some darker shades in here as well, and I've just seen a yellow speckle too. So what was that colourway name? Oatmeal. This is an oatmeal. So these 2 came with the bag as part of a kit. And then the last thing that I'm going to show you in terms of my acquisitions, I managed to get some Fawn and the Fox yarn. Sorry, someone has decided to be particularly vocal. I was saying that I managed to get some Fawn and the Fox yarn, and I managed to get 3 skeins. Fawn and the Fox comes from an indie dyer, Lara, based in Canada, and I managed to pick up 3 skeins, one of which I've already gifted, so I can't show you, and I have a feeling that was a pre-order. But I can't remember. It was the the Fantastic Mr. Fox, which was lovely. So the 2 skeins that I have remaining, one of them is called Let's Stay Home, and it's on her fawn base. So this is pinks and peaches with some purple and green. It's more of the mossy green here. It's really quite pretty. So like I said, it's in her fawn base, which is a fingering weight, 80% superwash merino, 10% natural unbleached cashmere, and 10% nylon. It's 115 grams, 350 meters, 380 yards. So yeah, I seem to be gravitating to kind of peachy pinky colours recently. I'm not sure why. He obviously has an opinion on it. And then this was my other skein that I got, which is called Moonrise Kingdom. And this has some of the peachy colour in it as well, and some purples, and then it also has kind of autumnal colours in it. So there's kind of a yellow and a coppery brown and some green, and some purple and pink and red. This side is coming across a lot brighter, I think, than the skein actually is. And this is in her jackalope base, which is fingering weights, limited edition. 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 100 grams, 365 meters, 400 yards. So I'm really looking forward to knitting with these. I have, again, absolutely no idea what I'm going to do with them. But that was, again, bought when I was on a bit of a spending spree. Yeah. So I think that's it for the acquisitions that I wanted to show you today. So now life in Singapore. As I mentioned earlier, I managed to get to the monthly knitting group here in Singapore, which was nice, and I spent the majority of it, 80% of my time, learning to spin. I got to meet some new to me people. There were some additional people in the group this time, and that was really lovely, and I'm hoping that we might be meeting up on a slightly more regular basis. Once a month just doesn't seem enough. So yes, so that was quite good. I also had someone who is newer to Singapore than I am reach out to me through Ravelry, and she's been here coming up to 2 weeks now, and I managed to meet up with her for coffee, or rather tea. And some knitting, and that was quite nice too. She is from the US, and Kim, hi, if you watch this episode, she used to go to a knitting group that used to meet up twice a week. I don't know that I'd have time to go to a knitting group twice a week, but that must have been amazing, and she sounds like she had a lovely group of knitty friends back home. So that's kind of knitting related. I'm trying to think if we did anything out of the ordinary, and I, for the life of me, can't remember what. I'm sure stuff must have happened. Yeah. One of the things that I've been looking into and trying to find out more about is the Mid-Autumn Festival, which I had mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. And that's something I wanted to talk to you guys about, because it's really interesting, and it was kind of my way of tapping into all the kind of fall talk that was going on social media recently. So the Mid-Autumn Festival is actually a Chinese festival. I think I might have mentioned in my first or second episode that Singapore is multicultural, and it commemorates or celebrates festivals from many ethnic groups, and the Chinese, well, a few of the Chinese festivals are amongst them. So this is one of them, and the Mid-Autumn Festival is the Chinese harvest. It's slightly different to how I remember harvest festivals when I was in school, when we all used to kind of pack baskets of food for residential homes, which was always lots of fun. we would bring them in and have a huge assembly, give thanks, and have our kind of baskets all piled up at the front on the stage. So this is slightly different. This is a harvest festival with a twist. It occurs on the 15th of the 9th month of the Chinese calendar year, and my understanding is that they have 13 months in their calendar. So it usually falls around kind of September, October time, and this year it's on the 15th of September. It tends to coincide with a full moon, and a lot of the festivities are related to the full moon. People tend to gather together, they give thanks, they pray for auspicious things, be that a spouse, a child, a new job. This festival kind of originates a long time ago, and back then it was also associated with kind of moon worship and giving offerings to the moon goddess. And more modern kind of commemorations of this festival tend to be with mooncakes and lanterns, lighting lanterns and having lantern festivals. If you don't know what mooncakes are, they are traditional pastries that are filled with kind of lotus paste, salted egg, what else? I think different seeds, red bean paste. They tend to be quite rich. They symbolize coming together. They have intricate patterns on them, and they're different styles depending on the region, or different regions have their own kind of style of mooncake. Traditionally it's a kind of, the Cantonese, the most popular style is a Cantonese style with a thick pastry and a lotus paste and salted egg kind of center. People tend to gather together and eat them together and gift them. So I couldn't get my hands on the Cantonese style one. The pastry is usually made with lard, and I don't eat lard, but I managed to get a different style of mooncake which I've tried, which are the snow, I want to say this right, the snow skin mooncakes. Sorry. So I'm going to show you this one here. I was actually going to do kind of a first tasting on the podcast, but I had read somewhere that you're supposed to share your mooncakes with the people that you love whilst looking at the moon. We did some of that last night. I have no idea if there was a full moon last night. I don't think there was. And my husband doesn't actually like mooncakes, so I was pretty much eating a mooncake by myself. So this one is a snow skin mooncake, and the difference between this and a traditional Cantonese one is that the outside layer is made up of glutinous rice. This particular one, if I'm not mistaken, is a mango lotus seed, or has a mango lotus seed filling. I'm gonna cut it open and have some in front of you, so let's see what it's like. The one that I tried yesterday was a chocolate one. Like I said, he's not the biggest fan of mooncakes, and he decided to opt for us trying the chocolate one. So this is what it looks like inside. No salted egg to be seen. Okay, here it goes. So at first bite, the mango kind of flavour does fill your mouth. The lotus seed taste is quite a little bit grainy. I wouldn't say it's smooth. It tastes a little bit malty. This one's actually quite yummy. The chocolate one that we tried yesterday was not so good. It was okay, but it wasn't so good. So this in comparison is actually quite delicious. I will have the rest of that with a cup of tea later. Sorry, I just need a sip of water. Yeah, so traditionally mooncakes are what get eaten. There are a few places in Singapore that have lantern festivals ongoing at the moment until I think the end of this weekend. Last night we were supposed to go to Gardens by the Bay because they have a lantern or light installation going on there after 7 p.m. every evening. But my husband finished work late, so I'm hoping to catch that with some family that are coming to visit this weekend from the UK, and hopefully I can share some pictures or some footage with you. Now, I mentioned moon worship, mooncakes. Where does this all come from? Well, there is a legend associated with this festival. And as with all legends, there are many variations to the legend. I have read about 5 or 6 variations of the particular legend associated with the Mid-Autumn Festival. And I'm going to share this one with you. Well, I'm going to share one with you, and the one that I've chosen made one of the main characters look heroic. There are some versions where she doesn't look particularly heroic, and being a covert feminist, I figured I had to pick the version that made her look good. I apologise in advance to any Chinese speaking people for me butchering pronunciation, but I have tried my best. I listened to various clips of the names to see if I could get the right pronunciation or intonation. I probably haven't, so like I said, apologies in advance, but here is the legend of Chang'e.
Many centuries ago, legend has it that the people of ancient China one day woke up to witness 10 suns rising in the sky. The heat from the suns caused misery and devastation in the land until one day an archer named Hou-yi decided to take action. Armed with his bow and arrow, he climbed Mount Kunlun and shot down 9 of the 10 suns. To the people of the land, he became an instant hero, and many flocked to his side to become his apprentice. Hou-yi, together with his wife, Chang'e, went on to live a happy and harmonious life. Some time later, when Hou-yi was passing Mount Kunlun again, he came across the Empress of the West, the goddess of immortality. She was so impressed with his heroic feat that she gifted him the elixir of immortality. Hou-yi refused to drink the elixir because it would mean leaving his wife, so instead he asked Chang'e to hide it, which she did dutifully. One day when Hou-yi was off hunting, one of his apprentices stormed into his home, forcing Chang'e to give him the elixir at knife point. Chang'e knew that the only way to save the elixir from him was to drink it herself, which she did. Immediately, she began to feel weightless and drifted up into the heavens, gravitating towards the moon. When Hou-yi returned home, he was distraught and started lamenting. On gazing up at the moon, he noticed a shadow that looked very familiar. It was none other than that of his wife. In commemoration, Hou-yi took his wife's favourite foods and offered them to her on an altar. The story of Chang'e spread, and she became known as the moon goddess of immortality.
So I hope you found that informative. I definitely did, and I really enjoyed kind of researching the legend and trying to find out more about the celebration. Yeah, that's a wrap here, guys. I'm gonna finish this mooncake and hope to see you again next time. If you liked the podcast, please click like, subscribe, and I really hope that you'll join the Ravelry group and get involved in the To Be or Not To Be cow. Until next time, bye.